You're on.
Good morning, Westminster. Get you a cup of coffee and join me, Ken Cook. Hello, Carol Cook.
Hello, everybody.
And our COVID stress counselor, Boyd Taylor. Good
Hello,
morning.
Ken. Hello, Carol. How are you?
We're good.
Good, good.
And we welcome a very special guest this morning, Max Sherman.
Hey,
Hey, Max. How are you?
Good to see you three guys at the crack of dawn. I swear.
Oh, I know.
Not everybody gets up this early.
Well, we hope there's some people up watching us because we want to hear a lot about you, Max. I know you were the dean of the LBJ school before you retired. And before that, you were a prominent state senator.
And excuse me, Carol, but Max represented the Texas Panhandle when he was in the state senate. And he and I first became acquainted when I was living in Pampa and he was representing that district. And that was, I think, in 1975, Max.
Wow. And Max has just written a new book.
And the title is Releasing the Butterfly. I love that title, Max. I can't wait to hear about it.
But first, Max, if you'll excuse us, we're going to talk about a new feature on the show we have coming up. It's the puzzle contest. And Boyd, you're the lawyer, so tell us the rules and try to keep them under 10 pages.
Well, I'll do my best, but I was well trained. So here goes. Each week, Carol will pose a riddle or a puzzle to our viewers out there. And if you think you know the answer, will you email the answer to us at goodmorningcontest@gmail.com. That's goodmorningcontest@gmail.com. And we will draw from all the correct entries and announce the winner on our next show.
Well, that sounds simple enough. Is there a prize?
You bet. There's a $10 gift certificate at the little store. So what's this week's puzzle, Carol?
This week's puzzle, I'm looking for just one word. And you're gonna need a pencil and paper, maybe to write down a couple of things here. All of these describe the answer, which is just one word. The rich have too little of it. The poor have too much of it. More powerful than God. And if you eat it, you will die.
Oh, I think I know that.
Yeah, you've had it before, so don't give it away. That's not fair.
That's right.
Okay.
So you're not eligible, Ken. So send in your entry, and all entries must be received by noon Wednesday, November 25th. All entries must be received in the named mailbox by the appointed date. In case of a tie, a drawing will be held. Decisions of the judges are final. All lawsuits must be filed in the Federal District Court of Alpine, Texas, before the date of the statute of limitations expires. Neither the owners, the donors, the sponsors, or the employees of Good Morning Westminster, its affiliates or subsidiaries have any liability for any claims of whatever nature, whether contractual or tortuous. And by entering the contest, the participants waives all rights for any such claims.
Well, wow. I'm glad you didn't lawyer it up any more than that.
I did my best.
Okay, we'll repeat the puzzle at the end of the show this morning. But now I think we've let Max just sit there long enough. We need to hear some about you now, Max. What?
Yeah, Max, we want to hear about your new book and maybe a little bit about you too, as well. And especially your adventures in the Panhandle and as life got started for you up there.
Well, to the three of you, let me first thank you for getting all of us up at this time of the morning. It's a good thing, but what I first would like to say is that how extra special it is that about 8.5 years, well, actually 10 years ago, Gene Ellis and I made the decision to move to Westminster before the Windsor was even built. And so we had about 3 years here, and you'll see her picture behind me here. We moved in, and for about 3 years, we used our apartment like a condominium. And we took a cruise to Santiago, Chile, and around to Buenos Aires, and went to Montana in the summer. And we just had one hell of a good time, excuse my language. But we did a lot of that, and then in the spring of 2015, the wheels came off of our wagon, and Gene Ellis's dementia kind of moved into Alzheimer's, and so I hit my femur. I shattered it and was off in the hospital for a couple of weeks, and probably if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have had the courage or the strength to suggest that maybe it was time for her to move down to memory care. But our kids made that decision. And so when I came back from the hospital with several weeks of rehab, I was miserable as a human being could be. I never dreamed of doing a book. I did a book on Barbara Jordan years ago with UT Press, and it's still getting some attention. But that was my one introduction to publishing. So every night for hours, I would get up and I would write. And in order to write, I had to kind of do it as fiction because I couldn't write about Gene Ellis and Max. So actually, I wouldn't tell this to everyone, but when I first started, I was George and she was Emily in a fictional account of the play by Thornton Wilder, Our Town. And
Wow.
And you may remember at the end of that play that Emily goes off to the cemetery and then comes back for the third act, and George is there living it out. Well, in this one, I was actually on a bed in hospice, getting ready, had morphine, and I was getting ready to hang it up. In order to talk about it, I started talking about George and Emily, fictional characters, and I was George, and I was also the stage manager out of that fictional play. So I was the patient and the therapist. And so every night I would write, and in order to do it, I did it as a play, and I did it in scenes so that each scene would deal with whatever trauma you were going through that day. And so for quite a long time, that's the way that this started, not to think about writing a book. Several years ago, I declined to write a memoir, a biography. I didn't really want to do that. And so this went on for several months and years. And make a long story short, about 4 years ago, I sent what had morphed from a 3-act play into a 5-act play. And I sent a convoluted 5-act play to my friend Bill Moyers to read it, and he started reading it thinking it was a book, and then he wrote me back and said, Max, I'm not a playwright. I don't know about writing a play. But anyway, he suggested I keep working on it. So that was 4 years ago. And so I kind of kept moving from one thing to the other. And finally, through a group of friends, someone suggested, well, you ought to put it into a book. And so with some help of people who are all mentioned in the acknowledgments, I started working to do that. And so releasing The Butterfly, A Love Affair in 4 Acts is the end result. And it turned from a 5-act play into about a 260-page book, which is, I call it creative nonfiction, but they call it a memoir. But it has to start with my life in the Texas Panhandle and then it moves through until almost the current day.
Oh, that's so fantastic.
Mm-hmm. That
That's
sounds
fantastic.
fascinating.
Well, that's a beautiful picture of your bride back there, I'll have to say, in the background. She's a beautiful lady.
Well, Ken, the book is really, at one point I did it as a tribute to her. As I said, at first it was therapy for me. And then the second part of it was thank you, to say thank you to all the friends and family who had helped us along the way and were part of our lives. But it turned out, in my judgment, originally to be a tribute to Jean Ellis, because she was a very strong, independent woman. And one of the things that the book talks about is our partnership, because I had to woo her all from our first time we met in the county jail in Hutchinson County, Texas, when she was 15 and I was about 18. And then we met again at Baylor when she came as a 17-year-old freshman and I happened to be student body president. And I looked over there and I said, oh my God, there's that young girl I met in the jail 3 years ago.
You better explain that jail scene. I know the answer, but you better explain that.
From my Phillips High School, there were two older guys. They were preacher boys, and they were going to be preachers. And when they graduated from high school, they recruited a few of us to try to continue the jail service every Sunday afternoon that they had started. And I happened to have a car because my stepfather died and my mother didn't drive. So I inherited a car when I was 14 years old. And not many people in that day had a car. So I was the one who had transportation to go the 13 miles to the county jail. So we had that jail service. And we invited 4 boys in a quartet to come and sing for one of our services. And they brought this unbelievably beautiful young woman to play the old Army field organ, where you had to fold it up in a suitcase and then unfold it and put it out. And literally, that's where Jean Ellis and I first met, right
Really?
at the jail in Hutchinson County, Stinnett, Texas.
Wow. That's so unusual, so fantastic.
Yeah, that's
And
a
then
great story.
Then I helped her register, and I always thought she had a boyfriend. In the book talks about it. I proposed to her 3 times, and finally on the third one, she agreed to marry me. But I knew she had boyfriends all along the way, and so when I helped her register, she didn't have any choice but to go with me to the student union and have a frosted root beer. So we went over there, and I kept wondering. So I asked her about the one boyfriend that I knew from the jail service, and she told me, well, that had ended. And so we kept talking, and I finally worked up the courage to tell her that I was part of the Foreign Film Festival group that had looked at a foreign film every week. And would she like to go to look at one of those? So our first date was to meet. I didn't pick her up. We met at the student union, and we heard the movie La Strada. And she just fell in love with foreign films. And on the way out, she said, Max, how do I join? Well, Lord have mercy, I gave her all the information, told her how to join. I said, you got to keep coming every week, because that way I can see her every week. And so she started coming, and then we started talking about those foreign films, 8 1/2, and all the great foreign film movies by Federico Fellini, and then that kind of led to, she was in a little room at Baylor where there were 4 girls in a little bitty square room, and so I learned that she would go to the 4th floor of the Carolina Library and study. So I started taking my backpack and sitting across the table and hoping that she would look at me, and occasionally I'd see her look up, and then after a while she would smile, and I finally got up the courage to ask if I could walk her to her dorm. And so that led to us walking and talking about poetry. She became an English professor later on. So we talked about literature, and I had taken a graduate course in T.S. Lewis. And so I started spouting off a lot of T.S. Lewis poetry that I had memorized. And so T.S. Lewis, Thornton Wilder and T.S. Lewis are very important to our lives.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, listen, you and Boyd knew one another in the Panhandle, right?
Yeah, he was a big shot, and I was a little shot. I mean,
Well, Mac-
he ran a big oil and gas chemical company over there, and I was just trying to figure out who the leaders in the community were, and his name popped up on the screen, and so I had to go over there and meet the people who made everything tick in that town of Pampa, Texas.
I was a big fish in a little pond. But Max was a great state senator for all of the Texas Panhandle, and I guess your district went down halfway to Lubbock, didn't it?
It did. The first time it was just the top 20 counties, and then it redistricted and went down actually on two sides of Lubbock, north of Lubbock and then west of Lubbock. And now it goes the district today goes all the way down to Midland, because in order to get enough population. But I think when I was elected, the district had about 700,000 people, which was larger than about 5 of the states at that time. And
Wow.
Wow. And it was 50 miles between each county seat. So had a lot of territory and a lot of time to think.
I bet you did.
Campaigns were not easy, I'm sure.
Well, one of the stories in the book that I like to tell is that, and it's all in there, a lot of history that I never thought I would tell. But when we decided to make the race, I was a corporate lawyer with the largest law firm in town, in the area, and my partners did not want a politician. But for the unusual reason, we decided to run and never should have been elected. I was a Democrat in a Republican area, which was the most Republican area at that time in the state. And but Gene Ellis and I decided we would go to every county chairman and file personally. So we would go to each county. No one had ever done it before. And we started building a grassroots organization. But one of my favorite stories is up in Lipscomb County. The chairman of the board of the bank was the county chairman. And so we were sitting there visiting, and the wife was visiting with Gene Ellis. And she said to Gene Ellis, she said, "Now, what church do you folks go to?" And so Jeannie said, "Well, we're Presbyterians." And so the lady thought for a little while, kind of paused, an older woman. And she said, "You know, we don't have that church up here." And so I thought, oh my goodness, we're in real trouble. Presbyterians can't get elected where all you have are Baptist and Methodist and Church of Christ. But they became very good friends and good supporters. But we went to every county, filed and it laid the foundation for lifelong friendships.
Hey, Max,
Wonderful.
let me ask you, I'm very interested in this book because I'm very interested in the Panhandle history that you're going to tell. Where is it available on Amazon or where?
I self-published it on Amazon, so it's available as a Kindle, as a paperback on Amazon, and it has a afterward, which I think is important, in the list of acknowledgments, and some people will recognize some of those folks, but it's now available in both forms on Amazon. So it's been a wonderful world.
I understand that you're donating all the proceeds from the book to a good cause.
Yeah. We had a chair at the Austin Presbyterian Theological Seminary named for Gene Ellis because she was the church organist for 20 years. And so all the proceeds go to Austin Presbyterian Theological Seminary. And I've never wanted to be out selling books, but anything to help the program in sacred music, I'm glad to help.
Max, we're just so delighted to have you with us, and we'll go to Amazon and get that book. I can't wait to read it, and I appreciate you writing it and appreciate you being with us here today. It's so nice of you to take time for us.
Well, Ken, if you buy 1,000 copies, you don't have enough book space on the back there to put them. Where are you going to put them?
That's right. I got relatives.
So, and Max, is the book going to be available in the Westminster Library?
I think Helen says she's going to have a copy there. There will be one.
Good.
Oh,
Fantastic.
good. Wonderful.
Thank
Well,
you guys for letting me be a part of this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Max.
And Boyd, what else is going on this week at Westminster?
Well, this is a holiday week, and so there are big menus here for Thanksgiving, a Thanksgiving Day, and was Thanksgiving a big day at Green Pastures, Ken?
Oh, yeah, not just Green Pastures, but almost every, restaurant that took reservations was booked up weeks before because that was a very big day. Christmas, New Year's, Mother's Day, they're all big restaurant days.
Well, everything about Green Pasture just seems festive anyway, so I think on a special day, it's especially nice. It was always especially nice out there.
Thank you.
I have to add something there. Ken could never take me to Green Pastures on Mother's Day or Easter Sunday or any of those because he said, no, we're taking up a table. No, I'll take you tomorrow or I'll take you the day before or something. But we could never, go on the real day for a real table because we were taking space that somebody else would pay for, I guess. Anyway, there's an interesting program tonight on our channel, 1890, that I think you're involved with. Is that right, Boyd?
That's right, Carol. Julian Reed will be, I'm going to interview Julian Reed, and he's going to be talking about the Kennedy assassination, which happened 57 years ago this Sunday, last Sunday. And Julian was in the motorcade, a few cars behind. He was in the press bus, a few cars behind the limousine when the assassination took place. Julian was an aide to Governor Connally at the time, and he's written a book about it a number of years ago, which is also available in the library. And so he's going to show some photographs and talk about those events, and I think it'll be a very moving and timely program.
I don't want to miss that. That's 7 o'clock tonight, right?
That's right. And I believe tomorrow night, Jim Woodrick is back on Channel 1890, this time with a program about Austin's environment. And so, Carol, do you want to repeat this week's puzzle for people that might not have written it down?
Sure. I will repeat it. I'm looking for one word. The rich have too little of it. The poor have too much of it. More powerful than God. And if you eat it, you will die.
Okay.
So send those answers.
Yeah, send them to
Just one word.
Good Morning Contest at gmail.com. And the contest closes at noon Wednesday.
And don't forget, there's a prize of a $10 gift certificate to the little store. So.
Yeah, and I won't repeat the disclaimer.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
We were sure hoping you'd say that.
That's right. So thanks. That's about all the time we have. Thanks again, Max Sherman, for being with us today. And to all of you viewers out there, thank you for watching, and send those entries in. Good morning contest at gmail.com, and find out the winner next Monday at 8:30 here on Channel 1890. And above all, stay well and stay safe. Bye, Max. Bye, Ken. Goodbye, Carol.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Max. Thanks a lot.
Bye, Boyd.
And we're on.